how the parish is going to use the opportunity zones. The president passed a landmark piece of legislation that created what you call opportunity zones. Trillions of dollars, almost $2 trillion, will be reinvested in the United States. And that legislation specifies that those funds should go in the low to moderate income communities. So we want to know how those funds are going to be used and what we're going to do as a parish to attract opportunity funds into our opportunity zones. Those are the kind of policy positions that the coalition puts forward to try to make sure that your quality of life is not inferior to any person else's quality of life. And that's so key and so important because people are concerned about jobs, education, and health care. So we put programs in place that created over 5,000 homeowners. Mm. So that changed the whole dynamic of the district.
Yes.
So young people moving in becoming homeowners. So I was sharing with her, one of the things that you have to do is find investors and give them incentives to come in and rebuild the night walk. You know, that's key because the investor is not going to place money where they're going to lose money.
Absolutely. So we have to show them where they're going to make money.
In the United States, the history of the United States is replete with examples of when the government went in, stimulated, and got out the way.
Yes.
And so you stimulate that. We did tax incremental financing on Manhattan Boulevard, and we stimulated it because we gave them tax breaks, Walmart and the Palace Theater, 10 years, and they were able to make the capital investment and then write it off. So those are the kind of innovative things that you can do.
Let's sing what we learned in native to the mayor and Mr. Dominic.
One day I hope, one day I hope, one day I hope,
First of all, I want to thank Chappelle for inviting me out. It's always a pleasure to go out around children. You know, the kids are the future. And that's what we need to spend a lot of time concentrating on efforts. I remember not too long ago when I sat in an audience like this, and on my mind I always say, you know, how long is this guy going to be up there talking? So when God allowed me to get involved in government and business, and I said I will remember at one time when I sat where you are, and I want to play and have fun. I don't want to hear a person sitting down talking all day. And I thank Mr. Capel for inviting me out because I'm aware of the Houma Indians and Opelousas Indians and most of the Indian tribes in the state of Louisiana, but I was not aware that you had such a large population on the west bank of Jefferson Parish, equivalent to Capel is almost 2,500. So that is what sort of excited me to know that you have that large of a population here on the West Bank. In Marrero, we came back and we did Ames Boulevard. We did that. We turned Ames Boulevard from a ditch, a small road with a ditch, to a full-lane thoroughfare. We did that. Lapalco Boulevard. Larry Bonnet and I went to Washington, D.C., got $60-something million to take Lapalco from Harvey to Highway 90. We did that. Alario Center, we did that. The PGA Golf Tournament facility, we did that. We used the Fireman's Fund Pension Fund. So you have to be innovative and creative when you're trying to make a difference. We were able to get the Fireman's Pension Fund to come in, joint venture with that nonprofit, and put that golf facility out there. Nicole Boulevard, we did that. All those things come from economic planning.
Now, is that going to give you time, Deacon Charles, to go to every pastor's anniversary? No. Is that going to give you time to go to every second line? No. Is that going to give you time to go to every party? No. It takes commitment and excellence to make a difference in the community. And from Wagaman to Harvey, we air conditioned every gym in Council District 3. Additionally, you take the Johnny Jacobs Park. We went in there and we spent $6 million renovating that park, making it modern, putting the only freestanding swimming pool in all of Jefferson Parish in that park. We went into the Harvey community, re-air conditioned that gym. So when I was on the council, we were about quality of life and economic development. I put together a team of people because as I started to look at Jefferson Parish, we have one of the highest conviction rates, but we also have one of the highest rates where the courts have returned them. So why is that important? Because they're encouraging these kids to plea bargain.
Yes.
And they don't realize that when they do that plea bargain, it comes with a long-term consequence. So we've been working this last year putting together a reentry program.
I was watching this documentary. It came out last year, and many of them were doing the plea bargain because if they fought the case, they would get an even worse sentence if they didn't win.
That's correct.
And so they were going ahead and taking
It's a scare tactic.
It's a very much.
But it has a long-term consequence because when you come out of jail, you're unemployable.
Absolutely.
If your family has any subsidy with housing, you can't stay there. Now that has changed because HUD did a pilot program here in New Orleans with Hano, whereby they set up this committee that reviews the felon and can screen that felon and allow that felon to have an opportunity to live with a family member. Because what happens is that if you're unemployed, you can't get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anywhere to stay. You're going to resort back to those things that you were doing before.
Absolutely.
So in this reentry program, our reentry program that we're trying to get done, we're going to teach felons how to be entrepreneurs. Imagine it. Felons hiring felons. I got an associate of mine who was a contractor. He spent 20 years in Angola. Couldn't find a job. Started doing contracting. Ended up going to get his contractor's license. Now he's a thriving contractor. Kid came out of Angola, couldn't find a job. He started a T-shirt printing company. Mm-hmm. Now his T-shirt printing company has grown into a computer repair company.
And let's give it a little bit of context. Angola is probably one of the most notorious prisons in the country.
It is. And so those guys came out of there, couldn't find anywhere to stay. So under the reentry program, we want to give them the possibility of becoming an entrepreneur. Some of the things that I see that are critically important, and every area have things of significance. In Marrero, between what I call the Ames-Haydale corridor, one of the number one things we have to do is deal with the smell coming from the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that.
There is no fundamental reason why the people should have to bear the odors that come from that plant. That can be fixed. Now, when I left the council office 16 years ago, I left a plan to move the Marrero wastewater treatment plant and the Harvey wastewater treatment plant. We were able to go to Washington, D.C. and get a grant to design moving those plants from those communities. I just ran out of time. But I did leave for my predecessors a ironclad plan to move those two wastewater treatment plants because those wastewater treatment plants were not designed to handle the type of sewer that is handling today. It has to be enlarged and it has to be isolated.
When the disenfranchised people needed a champion, a leader who would transcend race, ethnicity, social and economic norms, they called on Donald. A community leader who worked tirelessly to bring all people together, a champion who would build bridges to the future. Someone who worked to address your concerns, always willing to assist those who needed help the most. If it was the Wagaman community needing a fire truck, Donald was there. When the Alpha Phi Alpha New Lambda chapter Christmas toy giveaway needed a sponsor, he was there. When the new Lafitte Tourism Commission needed help getting started, Donald was there. When the Wagaman community wanted to get ahead of crime problems, he helped to establish the second Citizens on Patrol program in the history of Jefferson Parish. Those who never had access to power could use him as a bridge to connect to the decision makers and the power brokers. Donald is a man of and for the people, a true, genuine leader. Donald provides leadership that works for all. Join the cause and claim the victory. The victory begins with you.
Most people have a problem with a principal making $120,000, $150,000 a year, but they don't have a problem with a newspaper reporter or a journalist or anchor making $200,000 a year, or any business where they go and buy goods and service, that person making $300,000 a year. Why wouldn't we want to hire the best and the brightest in our educational system, pay them a salary that's commensurate with their ability to produce, and then hold them accountable? That's the key, holding them accountable. And the schools have become a sort of dumping ground, and this is why it's important. They will take they will take a school, and they will put political appointments in those positions as the principals or headmasters, whatever they call them for these charter schools, and they will put politically appointed people who they wouldn't put in other schools. The then superintendent would put resources in schools in Metairie and in Tarrytown, and wouldn't put the resources in schools in Avondale, Wagaman, and Harvey. And then it became like a dumping ground for the worst teachers, the worst principals. So if you're putting the worst performing people in these schools, you're gonna get the worst performing results. And some kind of way the parents got to get involved, Al, and start demanding that, look, give every parent a school voucher, and let the parent determine where the kid's going to go to school. Now you got true competition.
Health care is a major issue. Our community is aging. We need to have direct access. In every community, it's possible to have a community health center. I know it because I saw it in Florida. When A.J. Gilmore and Dr. Robert Dawson and I went to Florida, we saw thriving community health centers. That could exist in Jefferson Parish. But you got to have the wherewithal. You got to have the commitment to excellence. You got to be willing to put in the hard work to make things happen. We laid a solid foundation, just like Herbert Wallace and Eugene Fisher laid a solid foundation for us to build on. And Mr. Woods on the East Bank, I just always know him as Mr. Woods. It's a shame I can't remember his first name.
Bill.
Mr. Bill Woods, out of respect for him. Mr. Bill Woods, Mr. Johnny Jacobs, Mr. Landry Comedell in Wagaman. All those people laid a foundation, and God allows us to build on that foundation. St. Tammany, all of us coming together makes us a regional entity that can compete with other people.
Right.
And that's so key and so important. And one of the things in Jefferson that's happening is that you have an aging population. And I don't think we have done an adequate job addressing the fact that population is aging. And why can I say that? Because we have little or no senior citizen housing.
Yes.
I remember this thing called the Golden Girls.
Yes.
And these ladies staying together and enjoying one another and having fun and still growing.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Jefferson Parish, we're going to have to start developing senior citizens communities. And why is that so important? Let's say person 67, 68, their home may be worth $200,000, $300,000, and they have all that equity and all that in their home, but yet they're home alone because the kids are grown up.
Yes.
That person can sell that home, live in a senior citizens community, sell that home to a new young first-time home buyer, which is going to stimulate the economy. Because what's going to happen is that a real estate agent is going to make money, bank's going to make money, somebody's going to do some renovations that's going to make money. So you're creating a whole new economy off of that senior selling that home. And
But I have to be fair, though. A scary thing because my mother, she doesn't want me to say her age on TV, I'm quite sure. But she's getting, she's a little older. And she qualifies for many of the senior citizen programs, right, and benefits. But she does not want to live in a senior community. And I think that one of the reasons why many people don't want to live in senior communities is because what they picture is what you may see in the movies or what you may hear about on TV, where senior citizens are being mistreated or they're being treated with such kid gloves that they actually wind up accelerating in age. Almost.
Now, not assisted living. Now, that's a different
right.
thing. I'm talking about, like, I got a good friend of mine. He's 73. He lives in a senior citizen facility in Gretna. Now, he takes care of himself. But there are patios, there are things that they can do. There's bowling, take them out on movie nights.
Absolutely.
So I'm talking more like the Golden Girls type facility, not assisted living.
And that's my point, is that when people think senior citizen, they think assisted living. No. And I've seen some wonderful senior communities where you had to be a certain age to live there.
And when you go to Florida and you go to New York, you go to places like that, you have thriving senior citizen communities. And what happens is that if I'm 75, the chances are very good. A lot of people that I grew up with, I worked with, going on home to the Lord. So it's important to me. My kids may come for Thanksgiving. They may come for holidays. They may come if someone telling them I'm not doing well, but it's probably infrequent. Because they have their own lives. But if I'm living with other people who are vibrant, who we go bowling, we go to the movies, we sit up and talk in the evening, we watch a movie or something, that's a senior citizen community, not an assisted living. And we got to distinguish, and that's an excellent distinction, because what happens is that seniors have value. Mm-hmm. And another important thing that I would like to see implemented is utilizing the knowledge, wisdom, and capacity of our seniors. We should stop throwing them away.
Absolutely.
Because they have seen and done things that we have yet to do.
Yes.
So if you incorporate them into the economy, and make them a source of knowledge and information and mentorship, then what happens is that makes them want to continue to live.
Yeah, at one time in Jefferson Parish, a 14 to 18-year-old could work in the summer youth program. As a matter of fact, I worked in the summer youth program. It was called Manpower or Unemployment and Training, as Mr. Charles called them. But that Manpower program has changed over the years. And one of the questions that we have is that why in Orleans Parish that the 14 to 18-year-old can get the job, and in Jefferson Parish it cannot. We had a kid from Orleans Parish who was 16 years old who came over here, the mayor's office, Mayor Mitchell Andrews' office sent them over here to learn how to do broadcasting. And so my question at that point was, are there any kids in Jefferson Parish who can do that? And that kid, he worked the whole summer. So one of the policy issues that we have to address, what has changed and who made the change and why the 14 to 18-year-old can no longer get on the summer job program in Jefferson Parish.
From God's mouth to his heart, love in word and deed, he fights tirelessly to help others, never saying no to a need. While operating in silence, his actions spoke out loud. When he spoke to just one, he moved the whole crowd. The list goes miles long for things he has done. His feats are hailed by many, but he is the power of one. He had many firsts. Our people needed a voice. When representing minorities, he was their clear choice. Students, parents, and community, he stood up for them all. When the time came to